The Dak Prescott era in Dallas has been a roller coaster. One minute he's throwing absolute dimes and making you believe the Cowboys are Super Bowl bound. The next he's tossing back-breaking interceptions in the playoffs, and you're sitting there in stunned silence like, wait, again? And if you're a Cowboys fan, you've probably asked yourself the same question every January: is this really our guy? Is Dak the one to finally break the curse and deliver that long-awaited Lombardi trophy back to Jerry World? Or is he just good enough to keep the dream alive, but not good enough to make it real?
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
Well, apparently the Cowboys front office is starting to ask that same question, and louder than ever. Because now, swirling around the rumor mill like a Texas tornado, is a name you might not have expected: Shedeur Sanders. Yes, that's Shedeur, son of Dion, quarterback prodigy, and now, potential future Cowboy. Let's just take a breath for a second, because this is where the NFL goes full soap opera. You've got a high-profile, polarizing QB in Dak whose contract situation is already causing migraines. You've got a fan base growing impatient after a string of underwhelming playoff exits. And now you've got whispers, loud whispers, that Jerry Jones is eyeing Shedeur Sanders like he's the last brisket sandwich at a tailgate. And honestly, kinda makes sense. Shedeur isn't just another young quarterback. He's got the swagger, the media attention, the DNA, and the raw skill set that screams franchise potential. He's been living in the spotlight practically since birth, molded by a Hall of Famer father who knows exactly what it takes to dominate the NFL. So if you're Jerry and you're staring down the barrel of yet another almost season with Dak, do you double down? Or do you roll the dice on the next big thing before someone else does? Because here's the thing: Dallas has never been shy about bold moves. This is a franchise that thrives on spectacle. It's not just about winning games, it's about headlines, legacies, and branding the star on that helmet with mythic Texas-sized ambition. And Shedeur? He fits that mold perfectly. But before we crown him QB1, let's talk about what this actually means. If the Cowboys are seriously looking at trading for Shedeur Sanders, then they're doing two things at once: preparing for the future and putting pressure on the present. Dak might still be under center for now, but a move like this would be a massive, blinking warning sign. It says your time is almost up. It's not just about Shedeur's upside. It's about leverage. It's about sending a message, not just to Dak but to the entire locker room, the fans, and the rest of the NFC East. We're not settling anymore. Because the reality is, Dak has had more than enough chances. And we're not talking about some rookie still figuring things out. This is a veteran quarterback with years in the system, top-tier weapons around him, and a defense that's been more than capable. And still, no NFC Championship appearance. No deep postseason run. Nothing but heartbreak and a growing sense of déjà vu. Meanwhile, the rest of the NFL is moving fast. Teams are snatching up young QBs and building dynasties seemingly overnight. Look at the Bengals with Burrow, the Chargers with Herbert, the Texans with Stroud, and of course the Eagles, who took a chance on Jalen Hurts and now sit atop the division with no signs of slowing down. So yeah, the Cowboys see the writing on the wall. If you don't evolve, you get left behind. Shedeur Sanders may not be a finished product. He still has to adapt to NFL speed, learn pro schemes, and prove he can lead a locker room full of grown men. But the ceiling? It's sky high. And you better believe Jerry Jones loves a good ceiling. Now let's stir in a little drama, shall we? Because if this trade goes through, if Dallas really does pull the trigger and bring in Shedeur, then buckle up. The media circus is going to hit DEFCON 1. Every interception Dak throws? Overanalyzed. Every practice rep Shedeur gets? Mic'd up in slow-mo. The quarterback room will go from mildly tense to full-on reality TV. And don't forget, this wouldn't just shake up Dallas. It would ripple across the entire NFC East. The Eagles would start sweating. Washington would panic reboot whatever half-baked plan they're cooking. And the Giants? Well, they'd probably still be the Giants. But even they'd feel the heat. Because this isn't just a personnel move. It's a signal flare. It's the Cowboys saying, we're not here to tread water. We're here to build a dynasty. And hey, Shedeur Sanders as the new face of that dynasty? That's the kind of storyline the NFL lives for. But let's play devil's advocate for a second. What if Shedeur doesn't pan out? What if the pressure of Dallas, the expectations, the constant comparisons to his dad, what if it all becomes too much? Well, then the Cowboys are exactly where they already are. Still searching. And that's the cold, hard truth. This team is already in QB limbo. They've been living in it for years. Dak isn't terrible. But he's not elite. He's good enough to give you hope, and just flawed enough to break your heart. Every single time. So maybe it is time to take the risk. Maybe it's time to bet on potential instead of polishing mediocrity. And Shedeur? He's a bet that could pay off big. Of course, none of this is guaranteed. It's all still rumors, speculation, the kind of whispers that make sports radio melt down and Twitter go full-blown detective mode. But where there's smoke in Dallas, there's usually a fire, and possibly a press conference. If this trade does happen, remember this moment. The moment when Cowboys Nation stood on the edge of a franchise-defining pivot. Because if Shedeur Sanders walks into AT&T Stadium wearing that iconic star, the stakes instantly change. It's not just a new quarterback. It's a new era. And you better believe the whole league will be watching. So let's toss it to you Cowboys fans. Is this the moment to move on from Dak? Would you hand the keys to Shedeur Sanders and let him cook? Or is this just another off-season distraction, bound to fade when the regular season hits? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We need to hear from you on this one. Should Dallas go bold? Or play it safe? And hey, if you're as obsessed with this kind of NFL chaos as we are, don't forget to subscribe for more breakdowns, rumors, and dramatic twists from across the league. Because this is just the beginning. Welcome to the quarterback controversy you didn't know you needed. Let's say hypothetically the Cowboys do go through with the trade. Shedeur Sanders, the crown prince of football charisma, lands in Dallas. Suddenly, the most polarizing team in the league is being led, if not immediately, then inevitably, by one of the most hyped prospects of his generation. And not just because of his stats, but because of who he is. The Sanders name doesn't just carry weight. It carries expectation. It carries swagger. It carries the full force of Deion's legacy for better or worse. And you already know the second Shedeur puts on that navy and silver, the comparisons will start. Not just to Dak, not just to other rookie QBs, but to his dad. And that's a heavy crown to wear in a city like Dallas. Now, if you've followed the Cowboys for more than 5 minutes, you know that being the quarterback there isn't a normal job. It's not just about reading defenses or making throws, it's about being a symbol, a brand, a lightning rod. You're under more pressure than a champagne bottle at a billionaire's birthday party. Every decision you make gets replayed, reanalyzed, and repackaged into hot takes on every sports network for days. Dak knows that pressure. He's lived it, survived it, even, at times, thrived under it. But let's not pretend he hasn't also crumbled under it. And if Shedeur walks into that building, the pressure doubles. Because now it's not just about winning. It's about proving you were worth the gamble. That the Cowboys finally made the right call. That this is the guy who can stop the cycle of almosts, next years, and if onlys that has defined this team for decades. And can we talk about timing for a second? This isn't just about talent, it's about timing. Because the Cowboys aren't in rebuild mode. They're in win-now mode. Micah Parsons is entering his prime. CeeDee Lamb is torching secondaries. The defense is nasty. The NFC is wide open. This team has the pieces, they're just missing the spark. And right now, Dak's flame is flickering. So the Cowboys brass is thinking, what if Shedeur isn't just a project? What if he's ready sooner than anyone expects? What if his NFL adjustment isn't a long, drawn-out learning curve, but a Jalen Hurts-style acceleration into the big leagues? Because if that happens, you're no longer waiting on potential. You're running with it. But don't get it twisted, this would not be a smooth transition. The locker room? It's been Dak's house for a while now. He's respected. He's liked. He's the steady hand, the guy who's been through the wars. And you don't just kick that guy to the curb without consequences. Shedeur walking into that QB room is going to shift the energy. There will be whispers, side eyes. Some players might buy in immediately. Others? Not so much. This isn't just Madden franchise mode. This is real egos, real chemistry, and real tension. And oh my God, imagine the media frenzy. Cowboys training camp becomes the Super Bowl of preseason coverage. Every throw Shedeur makes goes viral. Every bad rep Dak has turns into a debate segment. Skip Bayless combusts live on air. First Take builds a whole month of programming off one clip. Sports Twitter is in a full meltdown. You couldn't script better TV if you tried. And let's not ignore the optics here. Because Jerry Jones has always seen this team as bigger than football. It's a brand. It's an empire. It's sports meets spectacle. And adding Shedeur? That's a headline. That's a moment. You think Jerry didn't see the numbers Colorado pulled when Deion took over that program? You think he didn't watch Shedeur dominate the media cycle like a seasoned vet? He saw it. And he loved it. Because for Jerry, winning is crucial, but relevance? That's everything. Shedeur brings you both potential wins and guaranteed attention. But this move also cracks open a much bigger question about what the Cowboys want to be. Are they still chasing rings the old school way? Trusting the vet, staying the course, hoping the stars align? Or are they ready to roll the dice, blow it up, and try something radical? Because make no mistake, this would be radical. We're talking about trading for a quarterback who's never played a down in the NFL, putting him in one of the highest pressure roles in all of sports, and essentially declaring, this is the guy. All while your current starter is still under contract, still producing solid numbers, and still holding the trust of at least half the fanbase. That is not a small decision. But maybe that's what makes it so compelling. Because if we're being honest, Cowboys fans are tired of the purgatory. Tired of being good but not great. Tired of watching teams like the Eagles, 49ers, and even the Lions leapfrog them with younger, hungrier squads. Tired of wondering what it would take to finally make a change. Well, this would be the change. And not just for Dallas. Think of the ripple effects across the league. If Shedeur goes to the Cowboys, it sets off a chain reaction. The Browns lose their young QB. Other teams start re-evaluating their rookie talent. Agents get antsy. GMs start making phone calls. The whole NFL chessboard shifts, all because Dallas made one move. That's the power of the star. Now let's go deeper. Let's talk legacy. Because this isn't just about now. This is about forever. If Shedeur comes in and wins, he becomes legend. Not just in Dallas but league-wide. The storylines write themselves. The kid with the famous dad carves his own path. The Cowboys finally found their guy. The curse is lifted. Cue the documentaries. But if he fails? Oh boy. It's not just a bust, it's an indictment. Of Jerry's vision. Of the Cowboys' decision-making. Of every fan who said, give him a shot. The collapse would be brutal, swift, and very, very public. That's the gamble. And that's why this is so deliciously chaotic. Because either way, win or fail, it's going to be epic. And let's not forget about Shedeur himself. He's not just along for the ride. He's a competitor, a brand, a personality. He's been built for this moment. But is he built for Dallas? Because this city eats weak quarterbacks alive. Romo got cooked. Dak's been dragged. Even Aikman had to claw his way to respect. There are no freebies under the lights at AT&T Stadium. Shedeur would have to be better than just good. He'd have to be great. Immediately. And maybe he will be. Maybe this is the moment the Cowboys finally decide to stop playing it safe. Maybe they finally say, enough with the almosts. Let's make a move that actually means something. Because here's what we know. The window is open. But it won't stay open forever. The NFC is vulnerable. The talent is there. The pieces are in place. All that's missing is the spark. So what'll it be, Dallas? Do you keep riding the same wave, hoping it finally takes you to the promised land? Or do you take the leap, embrace the chaos, and go all in on the future? Because if you're gonna bet, why not bet big? And hey, if you've made it this far, first of all, thank you for riding this wild ride with us. We've laughed, we've stressed, we've spiraled into hypothetical trade drama. You're the real MVP. The Cowboys are not just one of the NFL's most valuable franchises, they are the most valuable, period. They're the football version of a blockbuster movie franchise. Think of them as the Marvel Cinematic Universe of the league. Ratings magnet. Mass appeal. High expectations. But lately, the sequels have been mid. The trailer promises a Super Bowl, but the film always ends with a wild card loss and a post-game presser full of "we'll get him next year." And Dak? He's been the leading man for nearly a decade. Solid. Dependable. Occasionally electric. But here's the thing about leading men in long-running franchises. Eventually, if they can't deliver the box office numbers, the studio starts looking for fresh blood. And enter Shedeur Sanders, stage left. He's young. He's flashy. He's got the it factor. But more importantly, he's got what Dak no longer does. Mystery. The unknown. And in the NFL, the unknown is sexy. Because once a quarterback hits that "we know exactly who he is" phase, and that version isn't a top 5 guy, teams start window shopping. And right now, Jerry is pressing his nose up against that glass. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room, Dak's contract. This man is not cheap. He's not on a rookie deal anymore. He's a high-priced veteran who, to be completely fair, has earned a chunk of his paychecks. He's put up good numbers. He's led comebacks. He's handled the media with grace. But the NFL doesn't run on good manners and box scores, it runs on rings. And how many playoff wins has Dak racked up in his time with Dallas? 2. Just 2. In 8 years. That stat alone has the front office clutching their calculators and wondering if they're being bamboozled. Because you don't shell out franchise QB money for wild card exits and moral victories. Now imagine what a rookie QB deal does for this roster. Imagine slashing that quarterback salary and reinvesting it in locking up your stars. Micah, CD, maybe another offensive lineman or a stud corner. That's not just a Shedeur Sanders move, it's a team-building move. It gives Dallas the flexibility they haven't had since Dak was a fourth-rounder on a rookie deal. But even beyond the money, this is about momentum. Dak is a veteran. We've seen what he is. He's peaked. He's reliable, but is he transformational? Shedeur, on the other hand, represents possibility. That intoxicating belief that maybe, just maybe, he's the missing piece. The guy who could turn Dallas from a 12-win regular season tease into a juggernaut. And yeah, sure, there are risks. He's not perfect. He'll have rookie moments. He might throw into double coverage. He might hold onto the ball too long. But you know what else he might do? He might spark hope again. Because here's a dirty little secret about Cowboys Nation. We're tired of pretending good is good enough. We want to believe again. And we're desperate for someone who can make us believe. Let's be real. Shedeur has that aura. The same kind of electricity that surrounded Mahomes before he started. The same buzz that followed Lamar when he got his shot. The kind of confidence that doesn't come from stats. It comes from presence. He walks into a room and owns it. And in Dallas? That matters. You don't just play football here. You represent the brand. You're expected to be iconic. Every press conference. Every post-game. Every Thanksgiving Day game with 40 million people watching. You're not just a player, you're a myth in the making. Can Dak still be that? We've seen the best of him. It was admirable. It was competent. But did it ever feel inevitable? Did you ever watch Dak take the field in a playoff game and think, there's no way we're losing this? Be honest. With Shedeur, we don't know yet. But not knowing might be better than knowing too much. Because the known is comfortable. But the unknown? The unknown is where legends are made. Now, if Shedeur is coming, you best believe the Cowboys are going to wrap it in a full-on event. Jerry Jones will probably roll out a red carpet in the middle of the Star, holding a press conference with more cameras than a Hollywood premiere. You'll see Dion in the front row, sunglasses on, smiling like a proud dad watching his son step into the spotlight. And don't get it twisted, the marketing machine will go nuclear. Shedeur jerseys will sell out in minutes. Interviews. Endorsements. Primetime games. This will be the most covered, most dissected, most polarizing rookie QB in Cowboys history. Bigger than Troy. Bigger than Romo. Even bigger than Dak's arrival, because this isn't coming from injury or accident. It's being orchestrated. This is the Cowboys saying loud and clear, we're not afraid to blow it up. And whether it works or not, that's almost beside the point. Because this move would say something that Cowboys fans have been waiting to hear for years. We're done playing it safe. No more moral victories. No more next year. No more dragging a quarterback along out of comfort and familiarity. If Shedeur fails, then at least we tried. But if he succeeds, oh my God. The floodgates open. The NFC shakes. The Eagles panic. The league has to reckon with a Dallas team that doesn't just talk big, but backs it up. And what happens to Dak? Well, that's another whole arc in this drama, isn't it? If Shedeur comes in, Dak either becomes the highest-paid backup in NFL history or he's traded to a QB-needy team that's ready to give him another shot. And to be fair, he'd have value. He's not bad. He's just not enough, not for Dallas. He's the almost quarterback. But someone will bite. The Titans? The Patriots? The Falcons? He won't be jobless. He just won't be the guy in Dallas anymore. And maybe that's what's best for everyone. Because right now, both sides are trapped in this weird football purgatory. Dak keeps showing flashes but can't quite break through. The Cowboys keep believing but not really. And the fans? We're stuck watching this cycle play out like a rerun that we can't turn off. So maybe it's time to change the channel. Maybe Shedeur Sanders is the new episode we've been waiting for. The reboot that doesn't just change the cast, but changes the story. Because for all the talk about stats, contracts, and trade rumors, this is about something deeper. It's about hope. Hope that the Cowboys can be great again. Not just in September but in January. In February. Hope that we can stop living in the shadow of the 90s and finally write a new chapter. Hope that the next quarterback isn't just better, but different. Special. Iconic. And Shedeur? He might be all that. Or none of it. But if you're the Cowboys, if you're Jerry Jones staring down the twilight of your ownership era, if you're the fans who have ridden this roller coaster year after year, don't you have to take the shot? Don't you have to bet on greatness one more time? So here we are, Cowboys Nation. On the brink. The rumors are swirling. The decisions are looming. The future is calling. And whether it's Shedeur, Dak, or someone else entirely, we're in for a show. So let's ride. And before you go, we want to hear your take. Drop a comment below. Should the Cowboys trade for Shedeur Sanders and finally move on from Dak? Or is this all smoke with no fire? And hey, if you love this kind of drama, the trade talks, the meltdowns, the chaos that makes the NFL the greatest soap opera on television, make sure you subscribe for more. We've got stories to tell, tea to spill, and plenty of fire to fuel. This has been another episode of Quarterback Mayhem, Dallas Edition. See you at the next meltdown.